Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm making a little bit different of a video today. Today I'm going to talk all about autographs and um, going back to my childhood through something that I've been doing a lot lately, which are these through the mail autographs, which I kind of just got tipped off recently to the whole culture of doing through the mail where you send out a card or something else in the mail to a player and they with return postage and then they send it back in the mail to you, which has been kind of fun doing that. I've sent out a ton over the last 2 months that I've been doing that as well. But before we get to those, let's go back to the 1980s and we'll go through some of my childhood autographs that I still have, starting with this baseball. And this baseball is like really rough. This is the kind of baseball that only like a little kid would get signed. Like no adult in their right mind would ever get a destroyed, beat up baseball like this signed. But it's kind of a little league ball. But being a kid, this was my baseball and I wanted it signed. So it's got some cool signatures on it too. So starting at the top, we've got Alan Trammell here. And then below Alan Trammell, we have, and you cannot see these, so unfortunately I can kind of bring it. You have to look really closely, but we got Jim Northrup under Alan Trammell, and then under Jim Northrup we've got Chet Lemon, which is pretty cool. And then we've got Milt Wilcox, and underneath him, I can't read whoever's under Milt Wilcox, so that's in pen. And that's the other thing, a lot of these are in pen. Here's Larry Herndon, which is really cool. I've been trying to, I really want to find out an address for him so that I can try and send something to him, but like a card and get that signed. But there's Larry Herndon, and underneath it, can't really tell what's underneath that. So there's a lot of that with this ball. I'm not sure who this is in blue. Maybe you guys can tell. It looks almost like it says Charlie something, but I can't think of any. And it would have been likely a Tiger that was signing in the 80s, whether vintage or whether it was like a current player of the 80s that would have been, but I can't think of anybody that would have been. Underneath it, it's got Barbara Garbey. So yeah. Anyway, so next we'll look at some cards. Starting with, I said that there. This here's Barbara Garbey, which this one I didn't actually get signed. I had one of my mom's friends or a relative, I can't remember who it was, worked at a dentist office that he went to, and managed to get it signed for me, and it's a really beat up card. When I was a kid, I didn't care the condition of the card, I just wanted like a signature on it. So this one's super beat up and it's a pen, so you can barely see it, so I'll probably try to redo him. I got Alan Trammell on a 1981 Topps and Lou Whitaker, and before I'll come back to that in a second. Speaking of Alan Trammell, what I have here as well is, this is an old Tigers yearbook from 1990, which I got at a game in 1990, which I still have. And on it, there's like a really cool fold out of Alan Trammell. And if I zoom in, it's got his signature, so I got this signed when I was a kid, which is really kind of cool. Be fun to get like all of the Tigers in this signed. They're, it's got like a page for each one of the players and stuff. Be kind of cool, but I think a number of these players would be very difficult. I think some of them may have passed away. Like I think Tony Phillips, don't quote me on that, I think he's dead. And but and Sparky Anderson, of course, is dead, so I couldn't get it all signed, but it'd be fun to try to go through and get signatures on that, maybe. So then back to this. We've got Lou Whitaker, and then we've got Milt Wilcox. We've got Jack Morris here. The thing I don't like about this Jack Morris thing is that he signs it right on his face. I'm not a big fan of when players sign on their faces. I notice that there's certain players that don't, like they'll sign in the center of the card, not caring like what is actually on there and what they're signing across. And unfortunately, there's some, like Jim Palmer is one that I'm considering like putting a note in my, because I want to do him. I was thinking of putting a note saying, please don't sign directly across your face, because it seems like a lot of the returns I've seen from people posting on like the Facebook page that I'm part of, that it seems like he signs right across his face a lot. Underneath it are a bunch of Matt Noakes, and I don't remember actually getting these, but I think kind of went crazy with it and had him sign 4, and he obviously did it. But yeah, so there's a bunch of Matt Noakes. Here we have Harold Baines, which I can tell you the Harold Baines story of when I met Harold Baines and got these signed. It was a game in the 1990s when he was playing for the A's at the time, and they'd come to Detroit. And I brought these cards with me. I was 10 years old. And for some reason, he was like my favorite player, or one of my favorite players. And I really wanted to get these signed. And my mom went down with me near the dugout as he was striking out. And he was kind of in a bad mood because he just struck out. And so I'm not gonna hold this against him or pass judgment on him. You can't really like judge a person based on one little encounter, but like he came back and my mom got his attention, and she asked him if he would sign these cards for her kid, and he kind of half willingly like took the cards, and then he says like, what am I supposed to sign these with, my finger? And he said it really in an a-hole-ish tone, and I was kind of like taken aback by like just kind of like what a dick he kind of was that day. And somebody handed him a pen and he signed them and gave them back to me. But from that point forward, like I always remembered that, and I always, I never really liked him as much anymore after that. But he's probably a super nice guy, and I don't want to, I was a 10-year-old at the time. I'm not gonna pass judgment off of one encounter, but it just was a weird like experience where like kind of, I don't know, you just don't do that in front of 10-year-olds, but whatever. Here's Bill Lambier, which I would love to get like all of the back-to-back Bad Boys era signatures of the Pistons if I could, but I do have this one of Bill Lambier from when I was a kid. Also got John Shabbat from the Red Wings. It's in pen. And then we got Jimmy Carson and another Jimmy Carson, and then some hockey cards that I got after. I didn't get these signatures, so I can't verify whether they're real or not, but they were like in card lots that I picked up, and so just have those. Also, one moment. Now getting to some others that I randomly have, since we're talking about signatures. One which I found at the Mile High flea market for like $5. This guy had it on a table, was Mike Schmidt. And I figured for $5, I might as well try. And this card's like in really perfect condition. It's a card that I sent out for dual grading with PSA, and they came back saying that it was questionable and they didn't want to holder it. I've looked at other signatures of Mike Schmidt, and this one kind of squares with all those, so I think it's legit. But I think there's a lot of subjectivity in the grading process for autographs that I wonder if I sent it a second time whether or not it would it would check out and get holdered. But I was kind of bummed that did not get put into a holder. Also another one that I picked up later, he had already passed away, but I've always loved Mark Fidrich, just a super interesting player, the bird, with the way he talked to the ball, and just a fun 1970s Detroit pitcher. But anyway, so that's my other signatures that are not the through the mail ones, but I'm going to turn the camera over and we'll look at the ones that I've gotten over the last couple of months with my through the mail journey. So I'll take you along with me and show you what signatures I've gotten so far, and hopefully this will be an ongoing fun thing to do. So hold on a second, and we will go to the different shots so I can show you the cards individually. Okay, and we are back. And with these through the mail signatures, there's several websites that you can go to. I think one's called Sports Card Forum, where they list addresses for players, and it has a bunch of people that have sent cards and things to get autographed to them, and it has like their success failure rate with whether or not they've returned the signed cards and whatnot, so you get a sense of which addresses work and which ones don't work, or which ones aren't valid anymore, or any of that. But so I've kind of been doing that. There's also a Facebook page that I'm part of that It's a through the mail. I forgot what it's called exactly, the group, but it has a lot of people posting every day kind of what they're getting in their mailboxes every day. And I kind of go to that one because it seems like the ones that I've sent to ones that I've pulled off of the sports card forum site, they're a lot more hit or miss, and it seems like there's just a more recency to the Facebook page with kind of with them coming in real time with people posting which ones are signing. I don't know, maybe I'm just not good enough with looking at the sports cards forum at which ones are more recent, or I don't know what it is, but for some reason the ones I've pulled off of there have not come back, a lot of them, but pretty much all the ones that I pulled off the Facebook page have, and there, a lot of them are the same addresses, but it's it's just, I think some of the addresses people haven't received successful ones back since 2023 or 2019 or whatever, so some of them it's been a few years, so it's kind of a long shot, but I guess that kind of goes with it. But I think I've sent out like 96 so far in the last couple months, and 45 have come back, and there's a bunch that I'm still waiting on, and hopefully they will come back. But anyway, let's just getting to the whole process of through the mail. What I do for sending those is I'll write a handwritten letter on I'll just use like a sheet of computer printer paper, and I'll just write a handwritten letter, and I'll kind of individualize it to the player. Sometimes I'll if it's a player that I don't know much about, if it's like an old like vintage player that was playing before I was born, I'll kind of look and research a little bit on them, and kind of mention something from what I've learned about them, and just to make it kind of personal, and ask them politely for their signature. I'll take that letter, and then I'll take cards, and I will put them into a Card Saver 1 kind of one of these types of cases. It's not, it's thin enough that it's machinable, and so you can just use one postage stamp, whereas I think with top loaders, I think they would get, I don't think are machinable, and I haven't had any of these come back creased. I've learned a lot just in the span of 2 months. One thing that I learned is if you put cards in sleeves and send them out, a lot of the players, it seems like they take them out of the sleeves, and then they'll either ditch the sleeves altogether, they won't put them back into them, or they'll put the card into the card saver without the sleeves, but the sleeves will still be in there. Just kind of weird. But so I've kind of decided not to send the sleeves at all. Plus, some of the older players, for some reason, I've seen on the Facebook page, have signed on the actual sleeve and not on the card. So that's another kind of weird thing. So I usually just put the card, and I'll put like 2 or 3 cards depending on the player. Some players only want you to send 1, some are cool with you sending 2 or 3. Depending on what I have, I'll send 2 or 3 to each player. And I don't want to get too greedy and send them a stack of cards, but a couple I think is fair. So then I'll take that, put it with a self-addressed stamped envelope, which is a smaller one, and the letter, fold that up together and put them into an envelope and send it to the player. And most of them come back in about 2 weeks or so. So it's just kind of fun checking your mailbox every day and seeing what's come. So getting to the cards, seeing as though I was grabbing this Dan Petrie, I'll talk about that one first. This was one that came back. Dan Petrie, some of them charge money, and Dan Petrie charges $10 for his signature. So I'm a big Tigers fan, so I thought $10 was fine for Dan Petrie. So what I did is I'll usually send cash, and I did that this time. However, Dan Petrie sent my $10 bill back and his card back unsigned, and he sent this little letter with it saying that please send all autograph requests to this guy and make out a check for Catch for Children, which is a charity that is his favorite charity. So I've got to go do that, go back and send a check made out to his favorite charity to get his signature. So that's when it's a do-over that I got to do. But getting back to the ones that did come, and I think these are stacked by like the most recent ones to the least recent ones. First is Terry Kennedy. So a lot of these are kind of like not the biggest name players, but for Terry Kennedy, I sent 3 because it's 3 different teams. Oops, sorry. Orioles, Padres, and Giants for him. And he sent back those, and then I think he also sent like a Jesus thing. One thing I'm learning about these players is a lot of them are really like Jesus heavy. They'll put like Bible notations after their signature and stuff. So that's cool. I guess it's not really my thing, but more power to him. Here is Danny Tartable. I sent 3 to him. I really like his signature. I think it's just a gorgeous signature. I wish it looks like he didn't finish that curl on the bottom of the I think that's a D at the beginning, like he did on like right here. Like it's missing the thing, but anyway, it's still a cool signature, and that was the card I wanted to get signed the most, was the one with the cup on it. But definitely all cool cards. Dick Trzeski. Now, he's a player that played before my time, but I do remember in the 80s he was like a first base coach, and I remember always seeing when we went to Tigers games, like him standing out there the entire games with his last name Trzeski on the field. And I kind of mentioned that in the letter that, you played a little bit before my time, but I definitely remember seeing you on the field as a base coach. So that was cool to get. And like I said, love Tigers. Dan Pasqua. Dan Pasqua is one who only signs 2 cards. If you send more than 2, he'll sign 2 of them, and he'll send whatever else you have back unsigned, and he'll choose which 2. So if you want to send cards to him, just do the 2 that you want. Otherwise, you may not get your first choices signed. And he sends with this is a cool thing, like that they all send little things. Like his wife wrote a book called The Adventures of Sheldon the Sheep. And he wants you to like go check it out on Amazon and give a review to his wife's children's book, which is kind of cool. I don't have kids, so probably won't be buying that, but it's still pretty cool. Another vintage Tiger. I know he's on some other teams, but I kind of focus on Tigers, so I like it. Duffy Dyer, pretty cool. And I'll kind of go through these fast. Here is Tommy Herr, or Tom Herr, from the Cardinals. I believe this is his rookie from Flair. His rookie was 1980, but there wasn't a 1980 Flair. But his rookie was 1980 tops, but it's like one of those Future Stars cards where there's like 3 people on it. It's kind of small, and I know some people like getting those ones signed, but I kind of like the cards that are like their first full card or whatever better. That's just them. So I got his 81 tops signed instead, which is pretty cool. This one I was super happy to get. Jerry Cheevers. He is, one of the best goalies of the late 60s and then throughout the 70s. He was the first goalie to ever start decorating his face mask. He had kind of like a white mask with like all these like black line things that you were put on it. And unfortunately, none of his cards actually show his face mask. So you can't really get one. Can't really get one that shows that. You have to like look for other pictures of him from the era, but he kind of started it all with like decorating masks. But he was also just an amazing goalie, so I was happy to get his, and he signs for free, which is pretty cool. Here is John Blue Moon Odom, which he was a pitcher who played for the A's. He's in 3 consecutive World Series. Is it series or series? I don't know how to do the plural of that. Anyway, but he's pretty cool. Played before my time, but he's got a really it looks like he takes time to do his signature. Really cool card. Love it. Next here's Oddibe McDowell, which he's another one who puts like I think those are Bible references on the bottom, which is kind of something a lot of them do. Here's Mickey Tunnelton, which he was playing for the Tigers when I know he's played for the Orioles and other teams as well, but I focus on the Tigers. Mark Gubiza. And while we're at it, another thing that I've kind of been learning and with a lot of these signatures lately, as I've been now more recently a lot more selective in the cards that I choose to get autographed. The thing I've noticed is it seems like most of these guys seem to like to sign in blue ink for one. And there's a lot of cool looking cards, but they've got really dark pictures. And if there's a lot of black or a lot of dark on a picture, then the signature is not going to show up. So I try to look lately for cards that are a little bit brighter, whiter, that where if they sign it, the signature is going to pop. You don't want it to kind of get lost in like the background. See how you can sort of see with this Donruss card how his signature, like at the top right here, just kind of gets lost in the background. I've been trying to avoid sending cards where I know the signature is going to get kind of lost in the back. One thing where it comes up a lot is like, early 1980s Pirates, where they had those black uniforms and half the cards, if it's got like a bust level shot or whatever of a guy, like half the card's black. You don't really want to get that signed because you're not going to see the signature on the card. So I'm kind of being a lot more careful of that, which I wasn't here with Danny Darwin. See how like his signature on this 88 Topps is just not showing up at all, but on this 1985 Topps, it looks pretty good. So I'm avoiding sending cards like this because they just don't look as good with signatures. Bobby Valentine, he's another. He only signs one, and it almost seems like he takes offense if you send more than one. But so if you're going to send one to him, he's both a manager and a player. I kind of like to focus on the player playing days better, but he only likes to sign one. Here's Ed Vandenberg from the Mariners in the 80s. And this is probably going to be a really long video if I'm not careful. Buck Martinez, here's another one that I learned my lesson on, way too dark. See how his signature just gets lost in that? You don't want to choose a card like this, but you do want to choose a card like this. And I've noticed a lot of people tend to pick this card to get signed for some reason, and I think it's probably because it really pops with the white uniform, whereas take this one and you don't really see a signature, so not good. Here's Dane Eorg, pretty cool, played for the Royals and the Cardinals. Here's Brian Propp, which Brian Propp, I'll show you in a second this other thing that he sent. He was more known for being on the Flyers, but the cards I sent, don't ask me why. I just kind of always like the North Stars and the Whalers more, so kind of his late career ones. His signature looks kind of rough, and he also sent out like a couple cards for his businesses as well. And he put Guffaw, and Guffaw is like his trademark thing. When he scored a goal, he would do this Guffaw thing, and so he wrote that. And he sent this card as well, which this looked kind of just awkward to me, like the writing style, and I work with people that have brain injuries and stuff, and they've got something very similar to what you see here. And I went and looked and researched with him, and it looks like he had a stroke a couple years ago, and this handwriting looks consistent with a person who had a stroke, but he put stuff about his games and his points. I'm not sure what all of that is, but it's kind of nice that he did it, but it definitely looks like a lot of this writing is influenced by the stroke that he experienced. But it sounds like he's doing okay, so good for him. Here we go. This is Rick Middleton, who's a big Bruin. And I'm not sure if it's just like on the Facebook page that there's a lot of Bruins fans, but it seems like Bruins cards come up a lot. And so I've got a lot sent out to Bruins right now, some that I'm waiting on. And it seems like hockey players, a lot of them are in Canada, and I haven't figured out yet what the postage is to send for return postage to get it back to the US, or how to do it. Like if they can, I don't think they can send a letter from Canada putting US postage on it. So I think you'd have to buy Canadian postage and then affix it to the self-addressed stamped envelope and send it back. I haven't figured out how to do that. If you guys do Canadian addresses, please let me know like how much in postage and how you go about doing that, because I would love to get a lot of these hockey players that are in Canada, which it seems like a lot of them, especially a lot of the old 60s and 70s players are all in Canada. Here's Steve Searcy. Fortunately, here you go, another one of those signatures where it's just too dark to look good, but the Flair one looks decent, and so does the score, so there you go. Here's Ron LaFleur. He charges, I think, $10. His signature looks really scribbly. He's probably getting up there in years, but it's definitely looking. It almost looks like a 4-year-old did it. But no offense to Mr. LaFleur, we all get old. Next is Mark Wagner, who's another like 80s Tiger. This one is one of my favorites, Bernie Federko. He sometimes, okay, so he wrote Hall of Fame 2002 on his card. And one of the things that some of the players who charge for their, and it seems like a lot of the better players do charge like a little fee, and it's usually $5, $10, $20, depending on the player. I think for Derko is $10, but sometimes they'll charge like an extra $5 or $2 to have something else like Hall of Fame 2002 written on it. I never do that. It's kind of fun when it's there, but I just have never done that. But he added Hall of Fame 2002 on that, which I thought was really cool. And this is just a great looking card. So I was really happy to get that from him. Sid Bream, another well-known player from the 80s. Walt Terrell, Tiger. Pat Sheridan, another 80s Tiger, which is pretty cool. Mark Thurmond, he's another one who only likes to sign one card. If you send more than one, he will only sign one of them, and send the other one back or others back unsigned. So send the one that you want autographed, otherwise he will choose, and it may not be the one you want. So there you go. Then we got Mike Heath, which he was on the A's in the early 80s, and then he was Tigers catcher, kind of filled in after Lance Parrish left, and he's a pretty good catcher. Here's Frank Tanana, which I sent these 2 cards to him, put more Bible stuff on it, and he's, I guess, really big into the Jesus stuff as well, and he sent this extra thing, and it kind of talks about like his kind of his path into his religion and all that, which that's, I guess it's important to a lot of players. I'm not going to knock it. Here's John Hiller, another card that I should have learned my lesson on, but this was early. He was one of my first ones, and I think this was the first one that I thought, wow, that was not a good one to get sent to 78 tops, because you cannot see his signature. So that's a learning experience. And you guys are going to have to tell me, is it Brian or is it Bryn for Smith? I never knew that. I always thought it was just a weird spelling of Brian, but I've heard people say Bryn. Don't know, but Expos player, pretty cool. Here's an old 1970s Bruins player, Don Marcotte, which is pretty cool. Here's one of my favorites, Oil Can Boyd. Now, Oil Can Boyd was a character. I would suggest to you all that you go read his Wikipedia page. It kind of reads like a Hunter S. Thompson novel. Like, sounds like he just led a wild life, especially when he was playing, during his playing days. Just crazy antics and stuff that he got into. Maybe kind of Doc Ellis sort of level of just craziness. Just seems like a really interesting guy. If I could go for a beer with one of these players, I think Oil Can Boyd would probably be the most interesting guy to go with. So, and he's got a really cool signature too. So really happy to get those. Here's Rick Ruschel, got his on an O-Peachy, which is kind of neat, and 85 tops on 2 different teams. Manny Mota, another one who's kind of before my time, but he played into the early 80s, but I was really little when he was playing, but I think he went on to become a coach for the Dodgers. I'm not sure if it was a base coach or what, but anyway, but just cool. He's really, he gets back really quickly. Here's Ernie Witt. Ernie Witt, I sent these 2 cards to him, but he added, so sometimes they'll do stuff like this. Ernie Witt added this extra one in here, this 2009 inductee to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, which is really cool. But yeah, great Blue Jay player. Getting into some basketball, here's Vern Fleming. Again, look at this hoops card. It's not a good choice, and I would, and we'll get to that in a second, but just go for the lighter cards when you send them out. And lately I've been kind of wanting to do rookies as well, but if the picture isn't going to look good with a signature,
I'm kind of rethinking it. So then that gets us to these Skybox. These Skybox cards are dark. They do not show signatures well. They are not a good choice. But here's Kurt Rambis, very cool player. I should have chosen a different card than this, but we got this one, so that's pretty cool. Here's Don Beaupre, very big goalie in the 80s and early 90s. Played for the North Stars and the Capitals. Again, bad choice. Look at it, doesn't, you can't see it in his pads. It's too dark. But this one looks really good, this Parky. Here's Chris Pronger, and Chris Pronger personalizes it. And I think Kurt Rambis did as well, wrote to Mike, yeah. So they'll personalize it to you. Some people like that, some people don't. I don't mind. I'm not looking to resell these or anything, so they're just kind of for my own fun and entertainment. And it's kind of a cool thing to do with your old junk wax, because that was the other thing I was going to mention, is that a lot of these players who, it seems like it's a lot harder to get modern, like current players, but it seems like, and a lot of them that are still alive are kind of the 80s. So if you're a kid of the 80s and you remember seeing all these players when you were a kid, it's really kind of fun. And this is probably really the time to get their signatures while they're still with us, because it seems like a lot of them are passing away every day. Like we lost Chet Lemon earlier this year. It's kind of fun to, it gives a new thing to do with your worthless junk wax to go get it signed. Here's Tippy Martinez. Again, look at this, bad choice, black jacket. And then this one looks good though. And then here's Rick Dempsey, which he's one of my, like, he's another cool player. Like, he was kind of a jokester. He did a lot of like comedic things. I would suggest going online and looking at, type into like YouTube, like Rick Dempsey rain delay Robin Yount or something, something like that, or just like Rick Dempsey rain delay, and it will show you a video of him during a rain delay doing his imitation with Sammy Stewart of Robin Yount before a Milwaukee crowd, which was super entertaining. But he's kind of a jokester and did some funny stuff. So cool player. He added on the bottom MVP 1983 World Series, which is pretty cool. On this one, same thing. And I think on some newer cards he does stuff for like that's more reflective of like the later years, that his accomplishments then, that I'll add to like later ones that I've seen on other people's, but I kind of went with early ones. Ken Singleton, he signs as well, but he included this letter that said that he's cool with signing your cards, but please consider donating to his Cool Kids campaign. So I think that's kind of a hint, like, I don't really want to do this for free, please send this. So you know, I'll probably send a little bit over to the Cool Kids campaign in as a thank you to Mr. Singleton for his signatures, which look pretty cool. And then here we have Cam Neely, which is really cool. And this was one of the first ones I sent out, and I think I should have chosen some earlier cards of his. Some 80s ones would have been great. But unfortunately I did later ones, which these still look good and I'm super happy with them, but I would have maybe liked to have sent out a rookie or something. But those both look great. And then finally, we've got Mickey Lolich, which is a really gorgeous signature. And he's still alive and still is signing, so great Tiger. Mickey Lolich, of course, went on, he was just one of the most beloved Detroit players. After his playing career, he went on and opened a donut shop and kind of became famous with his donut shop in the Detroit area, and eventually retired. But he's still signing, and it's pretty cool. So anyway, those are my through the mail cards that I've gotten back over the last couple of months, which is just a fun stack of cards to get, and it's definitely a fun thing. I mean, for the cost of postage stamps for most of these were free. It's pretty fun entertainment and something to look forward to when you're getting your mail each day. Anyway, if you guys do that, let me know, and as well. But it's something you should consider doing. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. It's getting kind of long, so I think I will stop it here, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.